welcome to all of you here today. And I'm glad many of our friends of the university and many of the other dignitaries who I will mention soon are joining us virtually, as you can see on your screen. I'm glad that many of you here have made time out of your hectic schedules to be with us. Indeed, we have reached this point today of this critical moment of UNISA Portugal science diplomacy highlight in the calendar of this institution's history, as well in the history of Portugal's relations with South Africa. It is a day of delight on science diplomacy, and as the literary scholars like Prof. Simola and others would say, it's a day of glee, G-L-E-E-E, in the sense that this morning, as I was driving to UNISA, there were 3 headline news on BBC World Service, which is normally often on in my car. The first one is the soccer one, and of course the AFCON match, yeah? And of course it has resonance with Portugal as well, because when you would ask any of the young members in my household, when you think of Portugal, what do you think of? They would normally mention Ronaldo and much they had learned in high school about the seafaring experience of Portugal. So that was the first. The second two was the science diplomacy feat in South Africa. I think you may have heard a copy of the Moderna vaccine has been made in South Africa, and now the trials unfold pretty soon in that regard, and that was BBC headline news this morning. As well, the other point, I won't go too much into details, this digital age, you can Google about it. There would be a ship leaving South Africa for the Antarctic, and you'll read more about that background. I mentioned that because in the background that today there are going to be the signing ceremony on 3 critical areas. The first, as you can see from the banner in the back, CAMUS, the arm of the government of Portugal, an agency in Portugal to promote language development. And I think all of us in every corner of the world, the issue of language is very close to us. And the same year at UNISA, where a decision was taken that the tuition material, the first tutorial letters you get from the university, will be made available in all 11 official languages in South Africa. So this very much resonates with the UNISA's priority. And the other 2 priorities, which you will hear more about very soon from our Principal and Vice Chancellor, Prof. Puleng Lenkabula, the priority of marine studies, as well as the priority of space studies. I don't want to take away the fire from many of your addresses, so I would just want to welcome the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, who's here today with his electrical staff, and I know many of them are following it online as well, including the South African ambassador to Lisbon, following us virtually here as well. And we would also want to welcome over here His Excellency, the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, Prof. Manuel Hayter. You'll hear more about him a bit later. His Excellency, Ambassador Manuel Carvalho, the ambassador of Portugal to South Africa, and a warm welcome to his embassy staff here who are present with us here, including Mr. Carlos. I also to welcome online the president of the Instituto Superior Técnico, which is also based at the University of Lisbon. You'll hear more about that, Prof. Rogerio Polaco. Pardon my Portuguese accent. Prof. Arthur Silva, Vice Rector for Research and Innovation at the University of de Aveiro. You'll hear more about the University of Aveiro as well and its marine studies programs. And a warm welcome to Prof. Teniwe Maiwa, UNISA Vice Principal for Research, Postgraduate Studies and Innovation. All members of management present here in the OR Tambo building, 14th floor, Old Council chamber. You will see the history around here, and I know Deputy Minister Alvin Botus was saying he's happy to see an OR Tambo building here, and I teased one of the staff, we named this building before DIRCO named their building OR Tambo building. A warm welcome to Prof. Solomon Magano, the Acting Vice Principal Teaching Learning, and also the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Prof. Homotso Masimola, the Executive Dean of the College of Human Sciences, Prof. Monde, Acting Deputy Executive Dean of the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. I'm glad the College of Science is represented by those who are on the front line of much of the work being done on astronomy, space, and some of the research you've heard about the Square Kilometre Array. Prof. Melusi Kumalo, the chair of the Department of Mathematics, where the modules at UNISA on astronomy are based. I think I see Dr. Adri Krzeski, senior lecturer for studies of astronomy. Dignitaries present here, media, of course we have the friendly media here, and online, many of them on YouTube and MS Teams are also following, and the friends of the university attending this ceremony virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, may I kindly ask the University of South Africa's Vice Chancellor and Principal, Prof. Puleng Lenkabula, to address us. Thank you.
I wanted to remember my thank you in Portuguese, but it became a tongue twister because I wasn't sure whether it's O or A, lest I make the mistake. So, obrigado. Thank you very much, Professor Ambassador Iqbal Jasbeh, the acting Director of Projects in the Office of the Vice Chancellor, and one of the colleagues that have been at the center of enabling us at the University of South Africa to expanding our horizons through science diplomacy, international relations, and the work that the university has to do in order to advance its science agenda. I want to acknowledge the Deputy Minister of International Relations, to my right, His Excellency, Mr. Alvin daughters, and the team from our Department of International Relations who are in attendance today. No university can have an international footprint if the Department of International Relations, but also the Department of Higher Education, Science and Technology are not in concert. And therefore, I'd like to acknowledge His Excellency, Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Blake Nzimande, who is participating through watching the virtual platforms. I want to equally acknowledge the presence of His Excellency Ambassador Cavallo, the Portuguese Republic Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa, one who has been actively engaged with us in the deliberations of prospective partnerships with the institutions of science, science diplomacy, but also how we can reciprocally benefit from learning from and with each other in the global south and in the global north. So thank you for your presence, Ambassador. I want to acknowledge my colleagues this morning from the universities in Portugal, particularly Professor Rogerio Colasso, President of the Instituto Superior Técnico I'm learning in Lisbon. Professor Arta Silva, Vice Rector for Research and Innovation and Third Cycle, Universidade de Aveiro, present. Professor Tenjua Baiwa, Vice Principal Research, Postgraduate Studies and Innovation and Commercialization, a partner who definitely has to ensure that articulation of the 10 catalytic niche areas are not just here at home, but in the global space. Members of the executive and extended management, particularly Professor Mahano, Acting Vice Principal Teaching and Learning, Professor Humuto Masimula, Executive Dean of the College of Human Sciences, Professor Monde Twasa, whose research and IP we would have discussed with many colleges and institutions of higher learning, including Ambassador to my left, Acting Deputy Executive Dean, College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Professor Melusi Kumalo, Chair of Department of Mathematics, representing the college, Professor Adrian Zeski, Senior Lecturer in Astronomy, who has also been in the forefront of our engagement, dignitaries from the national, provincial, local government, friends of the University of South Africa, students, staff, members of all epistemic scientific communities and science diplomacy, esteemed guests and members of the audience, ladies and gentlemen, Juvelang Sanibona Nimolweni, good morning. I was told by DECO that it is lazy for a vice chancellor never to go through the table of precedents, even if they've been shared. So those of you who may be wondering why I'm repeating, please understand science diplomacy is at play. Good morning. We're here to make history or history. Why so? Because for higher education institutions who are interested in the scientific agenda to resource society through knowledge, research, innovation, and global engagement are coming together to reflect on the possibilities of partnership. This is not only important for the 4 universities, but it is equally important for our countries and the regions we represent in the global north and in the global south. No university can survive without clear articulation of scientific agenda that has interest in shaping the past, the present, and the future, but in ensuring that knowledge is at the center of building societies, economies, but knowledge arena that transform and shape the future for the better. At the University of South Africa, we are honored to be signing the Memoranda of Understanding with the Institute of Camor, represented by President, as I have already acknowledged him in the table of the President, João Ribeiro Almeida, and His Excellency Ambassador Manuel Cabello, the Portuguese Republic's ambassador to the Republic of South Africa. Universidade de Aveiro, represented by Professor Silva, Vice Rector for Research, Innovation, and Third Cycle, and Instituto Superior Técnico, represented by Professor Rogério Calasso, the President, the Vice Chancellor, in our nomenclature. As we engage with one another using a hybrid platform this morning, we are reminded of what our first democratically elected President Mandela once said about education. For him, education is transformative. It can change the world for the better. But it only also can harness the possibilities of those in the margins to ensuring that they claim participation, voice, as well as inventive agency in the world that they live in. This is particularly important for the University of South Africa, that has at all times been important in ensuring that education, higher education, innovation, and global impact are accessible to all communities, whether privileged from the margins, but also yearning to change society for the better. From the first meeting that we had with you, Ambassador, with Professor Iqbal, you demonstrated the commitment that the education sector must be a partner, and UNISA is a partner that you were looking to working with. Not only because of our commitment in the Pan-African ideal of being a university that's present in the continent, but also in the global north. From the first meeting which we held at your official residence at the Portuguese Embassy, I shared with you that we have 10 catalytic niche areas that we would like to prioritize in order to spare our inventive spirit, but also our global impact. And I stated that the lessons from Portugal, particularly on marine, navigation, space issues, were of interest to us. And I'm grateful that you have been at the center of running such opportunities to entwine Africa's intellectual futures in the aftermath of COVID-19 to ensure that this becomes a success and a reality. So now we're not just engaging about this, but we are finding a platform to ensure that this becomes a reality. Although the identified priority areas are in today's ceremony is specifically responding to the catalytic niche areas around development of postgraduate studies and supervisory capacities, or shared knowledge between ourselves and Portuguese institutions. Digitalization, ICTs, and the 4.0 industrialization, marine studies, space studies, which Portuguese institutions, as I have elaborated, are quite at the center of. The MOU signing is an exciting endeavor for us because it will strengthen both countries' teaching, research, and innovation, as well as our engaged scholarship. Although the main campus of UNISA is located here in Pretoria as a comprehensive open distance e-learning plus, what we call CODEL institution. The institution has regional centers all over the country in order that we respond to the demands, but also the geopolitical and economic systems within our country. We're thus excited to partner with the Universidade Aveiro to support each other in the field of marine studies. We recognize that as human beings, we cannot always agree on how to take planet Earth even as it makes or takes care of us. But we must look at opportunities for engagement where we can find conversions or lessons from each other, with each other, or even innovations that are central. We are aware that climatic changes are ongoing. The COVID pandemic aftermath is something that we have to attend to, that our academics and students will have to gather and be enabled to navigate these contradictions to becoming more ecologically conscious. They will be able to stand in the gap of all those animals that cannot defend themselves from human destruction, and thus the imperative for university education. We believe that the partnership with Instituto Superior Technical will soon grow to include other fields of studies. We have visited your website often, and we rethink, reformulate, and revisit UNISA relationship with TVET colleges. For UNISA, since its inception in 1873, the interest has always been to ensure that access is enabled and education becomes something that we all aspire to. Although our explanation of TVET colleges might slightly differ, we believe that collaborating with Instituto Superior Technical will help us achieve the goal of in a progressive manner of our comprehensive aspect. Collaboration on space astronomy studies with the IST, which is the largest school of engineering in Portugal, will support our vision of building a successful space program and expand space technology for the benefit of South Africa and the continent at large. Inherently, Ambassador and Minister, as well as higher and science excellency. All countries have the need to stand and be counted as contributors to the world's solutions and progress. Let us be one another's pillar as we research, innovate, and contribute to well-being, wellness, and flourishing in the global arena. It is through languages that we can join Maya Angelou and say, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And we would say at UNISA, we stand as 400,000 stars. With language come a people, culture, beliefs, norms, and other things that will shape thinking and how we respond to the world. South Africa, with 11 or 12 official languages, has made it easy for people to speak multiple languages. Literature indicates that many of us speak more than one language, have better memory, and hence problem-solving capacity to interact multilaterally, multilingually, but also in ways that care beyond the local context. And therefore, we think it would be important to concentrate better in many skills that afford us to also learn Portuguese, because we think, why is it important to know your language? The personal blog that we have been looking at. Our neighboring country, Mozambique, has Portuguese as one of the official languages. But also many countries in the continent, whether we speak about Guinea or we speak about Cabo Verde or Cape Verde, who are our partners, also use Portuguese. And we feel this will also be important for our own Pan-African interactions. I must state that our partnership with Instituto Camões, and I apologize if we are butchering the pronunciation, we are going to enlist the Portuguese 101. We are of the belief that it will promote the need to learn Portuguese, thus boosting the confidence and the hunger to travel for South African tourists who learn to speak Portuguese, but also for our students and staff who would like collaborative research with other researchers within universities in Portugal. I would like to conclude by saying I look forward to seeing the continuation of our joint efforts of building a long-term and strategic partnership with Instituto Camões, Universidade Aveiro, Instituto Superior Técnico, but also other science council or institutions in Portugal. We're hopeful that our partnership with you will not just be limited with UNISA for our contribution of 35% of higher education in South Africa, but also in the continent is quite expansive and is important for any partnership that is sought. We want to thank our own leaders of our governments who have made these collaborations possible. We cannot and we could not succeed if the support of our countries, our science diplomacy agenda, but also the efforts that the Global South and the Global North must collaboratively work together for a stronger world where humanity flourishes, but also ecology is protected. And through this partnership, we hope we will accomplish all. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Puleng Lenkabula, our Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of South Africa, for highlighting, indeed, history and her story in the making, and the fact that this week in South Africa has been quite a eventful week for not only the country, but also for the university. Last night, we just had to say our farewell to the Ethiopian visiting delegation, Ethiopian Training Authority. I think many of you all are familiar. The Vice Chancellor on Monday hosted a dinner for them, and there was an extensive program here at the university for them to get to understand UNISA's digital infrastructure. Why is it possible that at the height of the lockdown, UNISA was able to conduct online exams for more than some 250,000 students? So indeed, the skies and the seas are speaking today. We can see the beautiful blessings around us, yeah? And indeed, these agreements are about the space and the skies and the seas and the marine studies as well. And in between, the connecting question of language, which indeed takes us to another level of cooperation and understanding globally. Thank you once again, Vice Chancellor Prof. Lenkabula. Your Excellency, Ambassador Manuel Carvalho, the Ambassador of Portugal, may I invite you to take the floor, please.
Thank you. Professor Lenkabula, Vice Chancellor and Principal of UNISA, my dear friend and neighbor. Honorable Deputy Minister of Importers and colleagues at DIRCO, including, I understand, my sister, Mama Quena, that is watching us from Lisbon somewhere. Excelentíssimo Senhor Ministro, gather senior representatives of the participating institutions of higher education in Portugal and of UNISA, and simply dear friends. Today is a day for celebration, bringing together institutions of academic excellence in Portugal that see the opportunities in developing rewarding cooperation with a new South African counterpart. This was started in a series of conversations with Professor Iqbal Yazbek, my dear friend, and our program director today, whom I like to thank. And it caught speed after a breakfast that was already mentioned here back in July on a cold morning when the Vice Chancellor came to my house and explained the strategic vision she had for the university. We identified astronomy, oceanography, and the Portuguese language as the most promising areas for cooperation. On language, we had already partnered with Instituto Camões, and we look forward to the future South African teachers and Portuguese coming out of this partnership with UNISA. This is a practically oriented partnership that we are building here. On the other areas, we benefited from the assistance of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education in Lisbon, to whom I thank, that put us in contact with two of our top institutions in Portugal that we are honored to have with us today. University of Aveiro is well known for its work on electronics, IT, computing, and aerospatial engineering, notably focusing on satellite communications and with regular collaboration with European Space Agency. So let's reach for the stars. Technical, as it's known for short, is the biggest school for engineering, science, and technology in Portugal with a 12,000 strong academic community. Because of technical, the University of Lisbon is ranked 48 worldwide in engineering by the prestigious US News ranking. Technical ranks 11th among European engineering schools. It is those partners that we are, building this partnership with. As we conclude these MOUs, we are aware that any arrival is a new departure. And therefore, the future starts today in the shape of the concrete collaborative initiatives that we expect will soon bloom. The Embassy of Portugal will be keen to assist in all the useful possibilities on how to foster the academic cooperation. This framework, I'd like to highlight the important role that Erasmus Plus agency that was involved in building up this partnership can have in supporting the developing of these projects, and we may suggest ideas of engaging further with Erasmus Plus, bringing together the three institutions that we have here. Portugal and South Africa have a mature relationship in science and research that manifests itself in our participation as founding members of SCA, the Square Kilometre Array radio telescope in the Karoo, and South Africa's involvement in the AIR Center, the Atlantic International Research Center, situated in the Azores Islands in Portugal, in the middle of the Atlantic. In the framework of this relationship, let me highlight that we are, in concrete terms, organizing together with the Department of Science and Innovation in Cape Town on the 21st, 22nd February, the event Eureka Meets the Atlantic, in the context of our current presidency of the Eureka initiative. I'd be happy to share more information in this regard if there would be interest from UNISA on this event in 3 weeks in Cape Town. And because the oceans are such a critical issue for both our countries, allow me also to remind that we hope to see a significant South African presence in Lisbon in June on the Second United Nations Conference on the Oceans and Summit. And there's a place for UNISA there too. On the Portuguese language, it speaks for itself. A recognized language in the South African Constitution, in Article 6, the biggest mother language in the Southern Hemisphere, the fifth or the sixth most spoken in the world, and a major African official idiom, including at SADC or at the African Union. And we just cannot cope with the demand for learning it in South Africa. UNISA will help us in solving this good problem by working together in training quality teachers. I repeat, any arrival is a new departure. At the Embassy, we look forward to the joint journey that we start today. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Excellency Ambassador Carvalho, for giving us more nuanced details about the three institutions and give us a better textual understanding as we will listen next to the leadership from the three institutions in Portugal who will speak to us online. And I think if our technical persons would flag to me that the head of the Instituto Camões, that is the president of the Instituto Camões, Ambassador Ribeiro de Almeida is ready. Oh, sorry. Sometimes you want to hear your own voice rather than putting the mic on. So, once we know that the president of Instituto Camões is ready, we will invite him to take the floor. Ambassador Joao Ribeiro. The floor is yours, Mr. President.
Morning. Is my audio okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much. A special greeting from Lisbon and to the representatives from the University of South Africa, UNISA, our dear hosts, Principal and Vice Chancellor, dear Professor Pulling Lenkabula, UNISA Vice Principal, Professor Tenjiwa Meiwiwa, other professors, other guests, other participants. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Honorable Deputy Minister, Mr. Alvin Botes from the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, His Excellency the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of the Portuguese Republic, Professor Manuel Heitor, Sr. Ministro, uma saudação especial. His Excellency the Ambassador of Portugal in South Africa, my dear friend Manuel Carvalho, Her Excellency the South African Ambassador to Lisbon, special greeting as well, representatives from two of the most reputable and prestigious higher education institutions in my country, Universidade de Aveiro e Instituto Superior Técnico, Professor Artur Silva, Professor Rogério Colasso, uma mensagem também, cumprimento especial para vós. Ladies and gentlemen, very briefly, just a few words to tell you that over recent years, Camões, the Portuguese Institute for Cooperation and Language, has been investing in consolidating in South Africa the dissemination of the Portuguese language and culture in higher education institutions, seeking its curricular integration in a growing number of institutions, such as the University of Witwatersrand, University of Cape Town, University of Pretoria, University of Mpumalanga, and honored to be with UNISA institutionally from now on. At preschool, primary and secondary education levels, through its education coordination and the 19 teaching positions appointed for South Africa, Camões currently provides and ensures an offer of Portuguese language and culture, not only to the Portuguese community, but to the communities from Portuguese-speaking countries living in South Africa, and also, obviously, to all South African students in general. Portuguese is one of the unofficial languages protected by the South African Constitution, and its teaching in the education system of the Republic of South Africa is approved as either a mother tongue, as a first additional language, or as a second additional language. In this context, it is our great honor to be signing today this cooperation protocol with UNISA, which aims to establish the terms and conditions for setting up and maintaining a training program for Portuguese teachers, promoting the Portuguese language and Portuguese-speaking cultures, and, with the support of Camões, the hiring of a teacher of Portuguese language and culture. I strongly believe that establishing and developing an academic offer at UNISA to train South African nationals as Portuguese language and cultural teachers will strengthen the interaction and complementarity between our teaching network and the South Africa teaching network. This new academic offer will allow, in association with the South African Council of Educators and the National Department of Basic Education of South Africa, for the accreditation of future Portuguese teachers and to establish the former conditions required for the hiring of these teachers by schools within the South African education system. The establishment of this important partnership with UNISA is therefore an essential step in consolidating what is also a language of Africa, the Portuguese language. We are delighted to be here with all of you. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.
Ambassador Almeida, the President Camus, for your overview on details of this cooperation, and also for, I think I speak on behalf of many of my colleagues here, for fully instituting and funding this lectureship in the College of Human Sciences, in the Department of Linguistics. And it's very much in line with, as Ambassador Carvalho mentioned, the constitutional imperatives in South Africa. And it's fascinating that in that College of Human Sciences, where they have a senior lecturer in Portuguese language, and now they would have an additional full-time lecturer in Portuguese language studies. The College of Human Sciences is the first department in South Africa and the oldest department which has teaching modules in the Arabic language. So I believe, Ambassador, you made the right choice to choose the College of Human Sciences, given this history of the College of Human Sciences when it comes to language studies, the advancement of language studies. The Dean of Human Sciences himself is a professor of English studies. So I think that choice is, I believe, an appropriate one for all the reasons I've mentioned. May I now call upon the University of Aveiro's Vice Rector for Research, Innovation and Third Cycle, Professor Arthur Silva, to kindly take the floor and address us. Thank you.
Good morning from Aveiro. So I hope that you are listening to me without any problems. And these times of COVID, do not allow us to be present with you. That will be much expected from us. But well, first of all, I would like to compliment all the South African and Portuguese authorities and individualities that are here with us, and especially to Professor Linka Bula, the Principal and Vice Chancellor, and also the Ambassador and Director of Projects in the Office of UNISA, Vice Chancellor Iqbal, and in you compliment all the South African colleagues and ministers, ambassadors, and academics. For the Portuguese side, I would compliment our Minister of Science and Technology and Higher Education, Professor Manuel Leitor, cumprimento especial. Mr. Ambassador Manuel Carvalho, it's a pleasure to be here also. And of course, these colleagues, to compliment all the Portuguese that are assistant to this historical momentum that we are signing this agreement. Of course, that I would like also to compliment my colleagues, the President of the Instituto Camões and President do Instituto Superior Técnico, João Almeida e Rogério Colasso. It's a pleasure to be here with you and signing this agreement. So I think it's, as I referred, it's a historical momentum that we are here for signing this agreement. And I would like to make also a special reference to the South African and Portuguese academics that are assisting to this momentum, and also that will carry out the future collaboration and the future studies that we will have in common. I will say some words about the University of Aveiro for letting you know. I will refer that the University of Aveiro is 40 years old. We are a comprehensive university having courses from arts to humanities that we refer today. The principal referred the Portuguese language. but also from health science to science and engineering. We still are strong in science and engineering, covering all science areas, and also from the engineers. The science we cover from chems to the biology, to the geosciences, and all the branches of engineering too. We have around 15,000 students from the first to the third cycle. And I can say that we are, or we consider the University of Aveiro a research and international university. We have in the campus more than 90 nationalities, and we are belonging to one of the alliances that are involved to build up an European university. And this alliance is the biggest one since the beginning, that this call for European universities was opened by the European Union, and it covered 13 universities from 13 different European countries. As you may know, Portugal is organized in research centers and associate laboratories, and these are evaluated by the Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology and carried out by foreign colleagues. And I can say that our 20 research centers were classified in last evaluation as very good and excellent. It's why I said that the University of Aveiro, it's an university from international and on research driven. We can say that the University of Aveiro, through its Department of Electronics, Telecommunication and Informatics, since the beginning of our university, has focused and continues to focus its activity in electronics, telecommunications, informatics, and more recently in aerospatial engineering. We have bachelor's, master's, and PhD's studies on these topics. The university has a history of research in these topics and in development in the field of satellite communications, being one of the Portuguese university with the most tradition and collaboration with the European Space Agency. But I can also refer on the marine studies. We, in the University of Aveiro, we has formation and research on the topic and are involving multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary studies. We cover from the chemistry to environment to the physics, geoscience, to the electronic telecommunications, all related to the marine studies. And this cover also different departments and different research units and associated laboratories. So I would say that University of Aveiro is strongly committed with internationalization and collaboration with other academic and research institutions from different parts of the world. This agreement fits perfectly into our policy and commitment to this international collaboration. I would like to thank everyone that was involved to having all these 4 partners involved in this partnership that we expecting to be a fruitful collaboration, a fruitful partnership, and that we are expecting to be not only fruitful but also for a long period. And I hope also that the COVID could allow us to exchange students, staff members, academics, research in the future, and that we will reach very, very good results from this collaboration. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Good morning once again from Aveiro.
Thank you very much, Prof. Arthur Silva, the Vice Director for Research of the University of Aveiro. And I'm sure our colleagues, the Dean of Agriculture, the representatives of the Dean of the College of Science, after that presentation will be enticed to make a visit to the University of Aveiro. And I know I've got a bias towards coastal areas, being a KZN boy. So I'm sure that will evolve pretty soon. And thank you once again, Prof. Artisova. May I call upon the president, as we say in abridged form of the technical, Professor Rogerio Colaco, to kindly take the floor and to address us. The floor is yours, Professor. I think if you could unmute yourself, please.
Morning, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, official representatives of the South Africa government, Minister of the Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, Professor Manuel Heitor, Mr. Ambassador Manuel Carvalho, Mr. Ambassador João Ribeiro de Almeida, Professor Artur Silva, Vice Rector of the University of Aveiro, Professor Puleng Lenkabula, Vice Chancellor, all the guests and official representatives of the different governments and Portuguese and South Africa institutions. Good morning to you all. I'm here at my office with my Vice President for International Affairs, Professor Fatima Montemor, and we are very pleased to sign this MOU that strengthens the relationships between Portugal and South Africa, in particular with the prestigious University of South Africa. Following the policies of the European Commission, namely the new European Africa Strategy for Sustainable and Inclusive Development, both the European Union and the African Union intend to develop common interests in a number of areas, such as the fight against climate change and the promotion of sustainable and job-creating economic growth in Africa. Thus, we feel that is our mission to contribute to the implementation of this ambition, which is common for both of our countries. I see this MOU as an important opportunity for launching many new initiatives between Portugal and South Africa and between our institutions. We always support the exchange of students as an important step to strengthen our relationships. It is, of course, very important to enable collaborations both in the academic and research dimensions, as we firmly believe that education, research, and technology are the main drivers for the modern societies. Portugal has a long-term tradition with South Africa, as previously mentioned by Professor Lenkabula, and we are proud to establish now this important collaboration with a university that pursues values and a vision that is convergent with that of Técnico in Portugal. We are very thankful to the South Africa government and to the Portuguese government for their commitment and will to implement this MOU and to support these collaborations between higher education institutions of reference in Portugal and in South Africa. So many thanks to you all. It is a great honor to be part of these challenging projects. Thank you very much.
Very much, the president, Professor Colaco of the Instituto Superior Técnico, for addressing us. May now I call upon, and as they get ready, Ms. Matole and Mr. Mamorobela to take us through the signing ceremony while they're approaching the relevant desk. I also have to alert you that behind me, the Department of Education has produced this beautiful work of art by the well-known South African artist Michael Mapola. And it commemorates Freedom Day in South Africa and the question of implementing, as we spoke about, the constitutional imperatives. It's worth having a close look at this picture behind me. It's one of the top artworks in South Africa, and I'm glad the South African Ministry of Education has decided to make more imprints of this particular work of art. I'd like to welcome also joining us online. They wanted to be here in person, but given the COVID limitations of numbers of people we can have in this room, and our head of operations and facilities here is quite a police person in this regard. So, but I know online they've alerted me they are following the events here. The president of the UNISA Student Law Association, Mr. Bono Masoko, he likes to be called Fighter President Bono Masoko, follow that lead. And also the acting national SRC president, Ms. Gami Mati, is also with her colleagues in the national SRC, NEC, following us online. Welcome to them, and I also see a few mics here from the SABC. Welcome to our friends as well. I'm glad we are at this point where the 3 MOUs listed in your program are now being signed by the Ambassador Manuel is representing legally the Camus Institute. And of course, the other 2 MOUs are being digitally signed, as it were, and then they will be exchanged through the diplomatic pouch of the Embassy of Portugal and also, of course, the Embassy of South Africa. Lisbon will also be involved in this regard. I just saw a few minutes ago, I want to welcome His Excellency, the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education, Professor Manuel Herrito, has also joined us online. Welcome, sir, and welcome, Minister. Once we've concluded the signing ceremonies and many of the aligned issues, we'll then move into the last dimension of our signing ceremony and our ceremony to commemorate this important event today. While we, I just want to also acknowledge the presence of the legal eagles here. I know many of them who are with us here. I mean, they, in December and January, as these MOUs go to and fro, they very promptly over Christmas and responded very patiently to all those queries from the 3 higher learning institutions in Portugal, and also the 3 colleges and some of their technical inquiries and legal inquiries. So I want to thank Dr. Opa Mabusela, who's with us here, who's the head of legal affairs in the VC's office, as well as Dr. Anhisa Jovi, and thank them for making it possible to reach this stage. And as you know, lawyers can become very helpful and also very technical. But I'm glad with the cooperation of the three deans and all those concerned, we've reached this point today. So thank you once again. And I must say, seeing this flurry of emails in my inbox, I got to learn a lot about the legal jargon and force de majeure and the rest of the issues. But I believe this is a amazing start now for future cooperation, that we've committed ourselves to all the areas, the three MOUs which are being signed here today. So once again, also thanks to our senior technical multimedia staff for making it possible, for having a very successful possibilities for the staff at UNISA, the staff and the public in South Africa and all over the world, because this has been advertised on all the social media circles, to follow us on YouTube, on MS Teams. And it's interesting on Twitter, you watch what the students would respond when it comes to a signing ceremony. I remember one student says, well, I believe now I'm entitled to an MS Teams package now as a student. So it's fascinating when you read some of that and some of those details in that regard. I gather the MOUs are almost signed, and I would alert the Honorable Deputy Minister to ready himself, Mr. Alvin Botus, the Minister of International Relations and Corporations of the Republic of South Africa, who will...
It's going to happen here first.
Okay, very good. You see, Bishop Memoranda keeps me on the straight and narrow of protocol matters. And I'm glad he takes good care of the Chancellor of the University of South Africa, Dr. Thabo Mbeki. I think you know today is the finals of the international music competition here at UNISA. The jazz finals are tonight, and tomorrow is the classical international string competition finals. And the Dr. Thabo Mbeki, by virtue of being the chancellor of the university, is also the president of the international music competition. I guess, do you want a collective photo? If we could stand up here, please. Okay.
Let's run the process.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll take your lead, Bishop Memoranda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think many of you all in this room and perhaps who are watching virtually will also see that Prof. Mayiwa is one of the signatories of the MOUs. Prof. Mayiwa is the Vice Principal of Research and Postgraduate Studies. And I'm really admiring, Prof, your very colorful dress attire today. Okay. Sure. Sure.
I'm vaccinated with triple whatever. Triple boosted, too much.
Yeah.
We just need to do just want the background clean. Background clean.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
There we go.
We
That's perfect. Thank you.
pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, that's right. It's good we have the DIRCO official photographers as well as the UNISA. Yep. Exactly.
Honorable Minister, humbly so. You
Just
can
a
move
little
towards
bit
your left.
closer. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's one prof still coming.
It was just a test.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
We all need to look back.
Yep. Yep.
Just a little bit. No, not Ambassador. You perfect for the first time. Just want to create space for the lady on the left.
So we'll do it in 30 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. We can make it 2 as well. Okay. Are we ready? Here we go. 1, 2. Thank you very much.
You can say Portuguese.
Yep.
Obrigado.
It rhymes with cheese, but it's long. Portuguese. Obrigado. You can say it's obrigado.
That's
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I mean, obrigado is gentleman.
because I wasn't sure with O or A.
Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, it gives me an honor to now call upon Deputy Minister Mr. Alvin Botas, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, to take the floor. I know the Minister, the Lady Pando, really wanted to be here. When you're going down and as you're exiting, you'll see a number of collage of photos of the Minister here at the College of Science, College of Agriculture, looking at the Innovation Hub and the many visits she's made to OR Tambo building as well. But we are really happy to have here Deputy Minister Alvin Beltis. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Ambassador Jasper, Professor Benkabule, the Principal and Vice Chancellor of the University of South Africa, Professor Acho, Minister of Science and Higher Education of the Republic of Portugal, Ambassador Cavallo, Embassy of Portugal in Pretoria, Ambassador Harutelelwe of the South African Embassy in Lisbon, Ambassador Almeida, the President of the Camus Institute, Professor De Silva, Vice Rector for Research Innovation of the third cycle of the Universidade de Aveiro, Professor Caralco, President of the Instituto Superior Técnico, members of the media, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me from the outset state that one of the concentric circles on which South Africa's foreign policy disposition gets executed evidently is premised on cooperation between countries of the South and countries of the North. This particular partnership today between the Republic of South Africa, the Republic of Portugal, underpinned by UNISA, are first strengthening the cooperation and collaboration in the field of higher education between the three most profound high-ranking institutes of the Republic of Portugal. Today we meet under very different, challenging, but also exciting circumstances. Since the last Memoranda of Understanding was signed, at that meeting in 2019, nobody would have ordinarily anticipated the global outbreak of a pandemic and the devastating impact it would have on the lives and the work that we do. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic certainly affected many plans and projects which have been agreed to in the structured mechanism between South Africa and Portugal. However, I'm pleased that despite the many calamities, progress are being made in the areas of education. As you are aware, education and skills development are key priorities for the South African government as it seeks to promote more opportunities for South African students. Our National Development Plan envisages that by 2030, South Africa would have greater access to post-school education and training programs through a system that is more responsive to our youth's educational needs. Distinguished guests, South Africa and Portugal have traditionally been close partners, and we share strong and historical cultural ties. The partnership at the structured bilateral level between the Republic of Portugal and the Republic of South Africa is characterized as strategic, and I wish to submit, ladies and gentlemen, it's strategic of nature because we envisage this memorandum and understanding signed today with the University of South Africa, would amongst other things take leave of how South Africa will advance its own national interests, key amongst it being to reduce the high unemployment levels. It is thus with high appreciation that we note that Portugal's current unemployment rate stands at the meager 6.4%. Evidently, ladies and gentlemen, the significant size of the Portuguese diaspora in South Africa, totaling approximately 600,000 people, constitute an important repository as we continue to execute our foreign policy priorities. We are pleased, ladies and gentlemen, that the COVID-19 travel restrictions have systematically been lifted, which would enable both the Republic of South Africa through the Ministry of DIRCO and the University of South Africa to travel to Portugal to enable us to further energize the agreements at the bilateral level. Ambassador Cavallo, you will remember that our visit was unfortunately disrupted in December 2021. We are therefore looking forward to visiting your country with the contingency of the UNISA delegation. Professor Nkabula, this is an important occasion for UNISA. The signing of this memoranda of understanding in the fields of space, marine, and Portuguese language studies bears testimony to your singular commitment in ensuring that the challenges that we face in the areas of education and skills development are being addressed. In line with our previous outcomes, as it relates to numerous bilateral consultations between the Republic of South Africa and the Republic of Portugal, and the decisions to explore the facilitation and the exchange of students, academics, and to undertake joint research projects. It is now therefore time for implementation, and I am deeply satisfied that UNISA has reached this critical juncture. Under your leadership, Professor Nkabula, our sense of commitment to ensure that we report the role of non-state actors in the execution of South Africa's foreign policy objectives cannot be more overstated. Professor Nkabula, your vision to reclaim UNISA's space as an innovative leader in distance and open education, and to make sure that the university does not only become a center of excellence, success, and opportunity for the marginalized, but also act as a level of optimum participation in the global knowledge area is on the road to being achieved. Concluding, ladies and gentlemen, the South Africa's Department of International Relations and Cooperation are confident that this cooperation and these relationships will only grow stronger for the benefit of both our people. We therefore look forward to hearing of the fruitful and productive exchanges that will bring about the emergence of high-quality educational dispensation premised firmly on an excellent structured bilateral relationship between the Republic of South Africa and the Republic of Portugal. I thank you. Obrigado.
Thank you. Shukran, Deputy Minister Alvin Burgess. Your words outline of the partnership and key priorities between South Africa and Portugal, and ways in which the partnership between the two countries can indeed reach higher heights of partnership, and ways the different dimensions of that partnership can be strengthened in every way possible. May I now call upon His Excellency, the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, Professor Manuel Reiter. I'm glad that
Good morning. Good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for being with us this morning. Let me welcome Deputy Minister Bout and all of you, the President of UNISA and my colleagues, the President of Instituto Superior Técnico in Lisbon and the Vice Rector of University of Aveiro, but also our ambassador in South Africa. This is an important step which has started more than 5 years ago, when in 2017, together with my good friend Minister Naledi Pandor, we started discussing how could we deepen the collaboration between South Africa and Portugal in a broader context of our Atlantic positioning, but also in an increasing context of the cooperation between Europe and Africa in general. By that time, Minister Pandor was very pedagogical, very also structural in advising us throughout Europe, and particularly working with us in Portugal to make sure that those in the margins are taking to the center of the Atlantic cooperation. And it was under our guidelines that we very much launched the Atlantic International Research Center in 2017, and today it is not anymore a vision, it is a reality of cooperation, certainly between Portugal and South Africa, but also with other countries like Brazil, many other countries in Africa like Nigeria, Angola, but also in the north of Europe. And in fact, with the founding principles that we launched together with South Africa, by that time we have built a new activities for South-South, South-North, North-South cooperation in the Atlantic. Also by that time, and then in 2021, particularly in close collaboration with Minister Blade Nzimande in July 2021, we launched this challenge to work together with the Atlantic International Research Center with university collaboration to training young generations, to provide advanced training for new expertise in ocean space cooperation. And that has been done certainly in close articulation with our agency Erasmus that deals with mobility of students and researchers, but also with the Atlantic International Research Center and the Portuguese Space Agency in very close interaction with South African authorities. So I thank you again, Minister Nzimande, to carry on this process. And by that time, certainly in South Africa, UNISA was clearly identified, and in Portugal, IST, the Instituto Superior Técnico, the School of Engineering in Lisbon, and the University of Aveiro has put together an interesting platform which today has been signed. Again, I thank you, all of you. I also remember that in Europe at large and in Portugal in particular, we see UNISA as a leading institution, and certainly we are particularly pleased by this wedding with two of our most prestigious universities in Portugal. I do remember discussing many years ago with Minister Pandor the key role of UNISA. I do know and do remember her stories about her grandfather, Matthews, Zakaria Matthews, a strong activist of ANC that has been one of the founders of UNISA and an important role in that university. And we have clearly understood over the decades the key role of UNISA in bringing and promoting skills and competencies in South Africa, and therefore it is for our most prestigious consideration to work now between leading institutions in Portugal and UNISA in a context where now, together with the Atlantic International Research Center, the space agencies and the space divisions in our countries can certainly foster a better positioning for the cooperation between Africa and Europe, and in particular South Africa and Portugal, but also for South-North, North-South cooperation in the Atlantic. We live in unprecedented times, particularly associated with the emergence of climate change, but also with new opportunities for the digitalization of our societies and the economy. And we know, by far, that climate change has been particularly influenced by the way the weather and ocean conditions can interact, and therefore we should use more and more new observation systems, particularly based on low orbit satellites, to better understand the effect of climate change on planet Earth, but also to act on our biodiversity, on food value chains, particularly in fish production, but also in coastal areas, and above all, to keep our planet safe, particularly in times where we are entering in the new era, like the United Nations have clearly demonstrated of the Anthropocene, where particularly the influence of humans has overpassed the influence of Mother Nature. So I thank you very much, all of you, and I wish you the best success in this story. I thank you certainly our ambassador in South Africa for being with us, and I'm sure that through him we can guarantee a great success for this cooperation. I believe that all the work, all the diplomatic and scientific work done over the last 5 years have done many results, and I do wish you the best success for the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Minister Manuel Hayter, for addressing us and for making time to be with us here today from Lisbon. Your time is much appreciated, and congratulations on the win of your government in the last elections. And now I know the budget, hopefully soon, will be approved in Parliament. And many of these bilateral projects with the universities would be able to unfold much more easily very soon. And thank you all to our partners there in Lisbon and at the Aveiro University for joining this particular signing ceremony here today. There's two small items I'm just reminded as we conclude, and I don't want to be in between yourselves and the lunch, which is ready for all of you here. The Dean of Human Sciences, and of course the three pivotal colleges will have to take forward these three MOUs with the collective leadership here at UNISA. And I want to give the floor for 3 minutes to the Dean of Human Sciences, Prof. Masemola. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Program Director, Professor Iqbal Glasby, the Acting Director of Project Office of the Vice Principal. I'd like to take this specific moment, having acknowledged everyone from the presidents of the three participating universities in Portugal, to express our thanks, which has been expressly facilitated by Ambassador Mr. Manuel Carvalho. I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Blending Kabula, and the Deputy Chancellor, Professor Naiwa, for coming through for us in this ceremony. I'd like to say to everyone here present that it is a vital part, not just of bilateral relations between Portugal and South Africa, but UNISA is participating in this as part of this internationalization project. I'm sure that the High Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education, Professor Manuel Hayter, has a fair sense of how that can help us actually stretch not just our footprint in collaboration, but also the international benchmarking of our offerings, especially in the identified 10 catalytic niche areas that were set forth by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Bulele Kabula. Mr. Alvin Waters, the Deputy Minister of DECO, is quite steeped in this traditions of knowing how we could basically facilitate these kinds of cooperations further to improve even our rankings with this kind of collaboration. I think that's quite significant. And having said that, of course, we have guests here that have participated in the discourse of how we could further enrich even our curriculum, because accreditation is not merely about benchmarking, that's international, but it strengthens the curriculum. We are trying from the quality perspective to improve. But we have gained something quite extraordinary. I looked at His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Manuel Carvalho, and I was expecting some caldo verde, but nothing came of it. Offered us one lecturer in Portuguese. It's going to entrench and improve the quality of language teaching. in the country. And for us, it's very important. But I expect that from here, we get a bit of pasta del nata from you, get it off you. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say. So on that note, I think I've teased your appetite and muito obrigado. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mola. The last word goes to Prof. Tim Jiwe Mahiwa to express the vote of thanks on behalf of all of us here at UNISA. Prof. Mahiwa.
Thank you, Ambassador Profito. As you've said, my assignment is quite an easy one, and indeed just to seal the celebration of this marriage. Much as I'm not a proponent of polygamy, but this polygamous marriage is very much celebrated in our culture. We would be really ululating because of this marriage that we're actually experiencing this afternoon. I've greeted all the Unisans and our partners across the platforms that are experiencing and coming into celebration of this marriage. We thank you for your participation and being with us since morning until this early afternoon. The Vice Chancellor, of course, is the spearheader of this marriage with the catalytic niche areas that land us into this kind of relationship, and for her vision and direction and astute leadership. We cannot thank her enough. And indeed, in her introductory speech makes reference to how significant the vision that she has for the university speak to an iron expression of our national development plan as a university. For us, this marriage is not just only at an institutional level, but as it's been expressed, it is across the countries and indeed at a national level. As a university that has a burden of carrying the name of the country, it is befitting that it is us to actually have got to carry this kind of responsibility. I thank the Ambassador, Portugal, Manuel Carvalho, for being present, and your reference to the invitation of June. I look forward to that invitation and the conference that shall happen as we make reference to that. The presidents of the three universities that we're getting into marriage with, your speeches and the welcoming, very celebratory, but also reception that you forwarded to the University of South Africa. That's very thankful, and we look forward to this relationship, cooperation that we found and expressed by our Deputy Minister about us to be actually something that we look forward to, and that through his office, the policies he makes reference to, and that he actually saying is committed. The commitment that is expressed in his speech has really somehow asserted this relationship, the cooperation and the partnership that we're having this morning in Portugal and this afternoon in South Africa. So it is a long relationship that we actually are having, as expressed by the Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal, with all of this having, of course, being a long blend with the Minister of Pando, our Minister of South Africa, with international relations and cooperations. This is actually an expression, as also indeed said in his speech by Minister Bolters. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I know when we have these virtual spaces, we get our families to participate. And the number that we're seeing on the screen there demonstrates not necessarily the number that we have virtually, because we're also on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on other platforms. And we know that with all of this participation, we thank you for seeing this celebration happening, and cannot thank enough the hosts and the implementers of this relationship. With my colleague, Prof. Masemola, next to me, the burden is now on you to realize this relationship. And actually, our eyes shall be on you to ensure that the relationship, you don't drop the ball. So we look forward to you doing that in particular. And for us, the identity lies indeed in the languages and the heritage, and the culture is contained in there. Our two colleges principals that are seated over there, that is Professor Kumalo and Mhalo. We also look to you to ensure that this marriage does not become just a marriage on paper that we've signed, but is implemented on the ground, and we have the products out of there. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls across the platforms, I cannot afford not to thank the behind-the-scenes colleagues in the form of institutional development, our corporations and a corporate office led by Dante Mormela and your colleagues who are realizing all of this. A lot happens behind the scenes, and so our colleagues in the Vice Chancellor's office, all the offices who've made this relationship and this celebration being realized in this fashion. We cannot thank you enough. Our ministries in the country and in Portugal, all who have actually, through the platforms that they avail, and also physically being here in this room of council and a council who are not present physically, but who are also watching this marriage being sealed in this fashion. We thank them because we shall be knocking on their doors to actually realize what Professor Masemola made reference to, that we need more of this happening, and also resources shall be required there. Most importantly, but not least, I want to thank the colleagues who have made this room prepared in the fashion that it is, the carers that are often up behind the scenes to ensure that it is important that we actually are having this room, and those that Prof. Ambassador Iqbal has made reference to the fact that life shall happen, and the reason that it shall happen is because the people who possibly started preparing that from yesterday, and men of whom indeed would be women, by all the gender expectations that we continue to have in the two countries. And as I am indeed my homeboy, Prof. Iqbal, thank you so much for having choreographed and steered this ship in the fashion that you have. It very much speaks to the week that we have as we celebrate music in the university through the arts. And this indeed, ladies and gentlemen, has been a work of art. And thank you to everybody who's made it possible that this art and design does indeed come into the reality and fruition that we see this afternoon and morning in Portugal. Siyabonga, danki, obrigado, thank you. Good afternoon, good morning.
Thank you all. In the room here on the 14th floor Tambo building. Thank you all to our partners there in Aveiro, in Lisbon, all those who have been following on YouTube and MS Teams. And we look forward to meeting on another occasion very soon in Lisbon as well as in Pretoria. And we look forward also the follow-up meetings in this regard. And thank you all once again here. Matole. That's Prof. I can't. Oh, yes. You know, there's someone.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Session's closed.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, everybody. Lunch is served. Obrigado. Thank you, colleagues. We hope to meet virtually, but also perhaps in person when we engage with our minister and the ambassador. Thank you. Obrigado.